Welcome to Retiring Well, where it's our job to help you enjoy financial security in any economy. We have got a terrific show lined up for you this week. We are talking about whether or not you are leaving a tax bomb for your surviving spouse. Guess what? Odds are good that you are. Now it's time to meet the people that really know what they're talking about, your retirement planning specialists.
And in Birmingham, Alabama, this is Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor and your retirement planning specialist, Tad Hill.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, providing financial security in any economy. Today is the day you can take control of your financial future and eliminate worrying about your money forever. Featuring Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor Tad Hill, founder of Freedom Financial Group in Birmingham.
All right, folks, are you leaving your surviving spouse a tax bomb? Well, I got some bad news for you. If most of your money is in a retirement plan like a 401k or 403b, or if it's in an IRA, then odds are almost certain that you're leaving your surviving spouse a tax bomb. The legacy you're going to leave your spouse is, yep, Joe died and all he did was leave me a big old tax bill, or Jane died and all she left me with was a big old tax bill. You don't want this. Now, why is that? Well, just follow along with me a little bit here. We're going to talk about 3 reasons that leaving retirement plans to your surviving spouse is really a horrible tax idea. Reason number 1, every distribution from that retirement plan or IRA, 100% taxable. Every time they pull money out, bang, they got to pay tax. But then reason number 2 is it gets worse because they're not paying taxes at married tax rates, are they? They're paying taxes at a single taxpayer tax rate. Have you looked at those tax rates recently? I mean, do you remember the days of being single and all the taxes you had to pay back then? Well, guess what? When you die, your surviving spouse becomes a single taxpayer again, and it is ugly. So they're paying taxes on all the money coming out and at higher rates. And then reason number 3, Social Security. What happens when you have a surviving spouse? First, they get less Social Security, but in many cases, especially if you have retirement plans, more of it is taxed, and it can get absolutely ugly. So it's all taxable at higher rates, and it hurts your Social Security. Does that sound like a good plan? Not really. Well, anyway, what I've done is I brought in Larry Flynn, my super smart tax planning specialist. He's going to show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Thanks, Mike. Listen, we see this all the time. Let's take an example here. We got Jack and Jill. They're both age 65. They're married. They're filing a joint tax return, right? They're pulling $30,000 out of their IRA. They've got Social Security income of $30,000. Maybe 20 of it is Jack, 10 of it is Jill's. And under the joint tax rates, only $6,850 of the Social Security is taxable in this particular case. Their income is $60,000, right? They might not be itemizing, so they're taking a standard deduction. Well, under joint rates, that's $14,600. They both get a personal exemption of $3,900, so they get another deduction of $7,800. Their taxable income in this particular case is only $14,450. And in the joint tax rates, it's in the 10% bracket. Tax is only $1,445. Now, let's just say something happens to Jack. Now, Jill is single. She has to decide to take her own Social Security or take his. She decides to take his, which is $20,000. She makes up the difference in income with additional IRA income, which brings it up to $40,000. So income is still only $60,000. But look, in this particular case, now with the single rate, $17,000 of the $20,000 Social Security is taxable now. She gets a standard deduction of half, now only $7,600. She loses one of the personal, she only gets her own personal exemption, which is $3,900. Look at this, the taxable income is $45,500. And in the single rates, that's now, the tax ends up being $7,305. Talk about ugly. Now, Mike, I know that you're going to be talking about some solutions to this, so I'm going to just turn it right over to you, and I thank you for letting me join you.
That's right, Larry. And by the way, thanks for that wonderful information. But Larry, you're right. Later on in the show, folks, I want to make sure you stay tuned because during the Chalk Talk section, I'm going to give you some real world solutions to this very challenging tax problem. Now what I want to do is turn it over to your financial planning specialist. And not only do surviving spouses have tax-related problems, in many cases, they also have income planning problems. And what I want to ask your retirement planning specialist is, what types of planning are you doing with your clients now so that the surviving spouse is in really good shape with his or her income when that time comes?
And now, featuring Chartered Retirement Planning Counselor Tad Hill.
Mike, income planning is the cornerstone of retirement. But one of the things that I see happen all the time is that when people think about income planning in retirement, they think about it for what's happening at the time they retire. And the goal for retirement is not to get to retirement. The goal for retirement is to get through retirement and have both of you be able to live in the way you're accustomed to without having to worry, without having to lose sleep every time the stock market drops, and to be able to live the life you're accustomed to. So to be able to do that, we've got to face one very difficult thing, and that is that the mortality rate for human beings is 100%. And guys, we're probably going first, particularly if we're older than our spouses. So the big mistake that I see in income planning is that people don't look at the impact of what's going to happen when the husband passes away as thoroughly as they should. Now, sometimes the bigger impact is going to happen if the wife passes away first, if she's the one with the pension. But by far the most common scenario is the husband has the pension, he's got the bigger IRA, and normally we're going to lose some part of the pension and we're going to lose one of the Social Securities. We know we're going to lose one of the Social Securities, and too often people haven't taken 100% spousal on their pension because the thought process is, well, she won't need as much to live as both of us do. And so it's okay if I only take half the pension as a spousal benefit. I can't tell you how often I see that the fixed income for the spouse, the wife usually, is going to get cut in half if the husband dies first. And let me tell you, it doesn't cost as much for one person to live as it does for two, but it doesn't cost half as much. Normally it's about 80% as much. And you factor in the effects of inflation over a period of time, because most people's pensions are not adjusted for inflation like Social Security is. Now we've got a real problem on our hands. So income planning for spouses is huge, and if your plan is, well, this IRA is going to go to her and she'll be able to use that to sustain herself, you got to look at, are we already using the IRA? And is that a resource that we're already pulling from? If it's just sitting there by itself, now we've got to look at what you're talking about, Mike, which is, what are the tax implications? So one of the huge missing pieces to retirement plans that I see all the time is having a plan now for what is going to happen when one of us passes away. It's the way life works. We're born, we live, we die. Nobody wants to think about it, but the fastest growing poverty group in this country is widowed women. Listen, if you're watching today and this makes sense to you and you're saying, hey, I'm not really sure exactly what our income plan is designed to do if one of us passes away, or what happens if one of us does need extended health care, that sort of thing, give the number on the screen a call. I'll sit down with you and do our retirement roadmap review, where we walk through all of the areas of retirement planning and we make sure we uncover what needs to be answered for your retirement. This is a process that's worth $1,500, and I'm offering it to you free at no charge, no obligation, to come in and understand what are the things that you need to be planning for. What are the potential pitfalls for your retirement, not some rule of thumb. Give us a call. I'll be happy to help you out.
Boy, that was great real-world ideas, solutions for income for surviving spouses. I thought that was very helpful. And folks, remember, if you have questions for your retirement planning specialist, you can always just call the number on the screen. They'll talk to you on the phone, in person, whatever is most convenient. Why not take advantage of that terrific resource? Now, I don't want you going anywhere because coming up, we have our question of the week. Hi, my name's Michael Reese. I'm a certified financial planner who specializes in retirement planning. And for the last 18 years, I've been helping my clients enjoy financial security during their retirement years. And one of the hottest financial tools out there right now for retirement planning are annuities, but they're also the most misunderstood. And it's really no surprise why things are so confusing, because both the insurance companies and the financial media do such a poor job explaining what annuities are and when they should best be used. That's why I've created a series of videos absolutely free that you can watch in the comfort of your own home to teach you what annuities are and how they work.
Visit www.makingannuitiessimple.com today for a free video series with TV host and retirement planning strategist Michael Reese.
Let's talk about ways to protect your principal that have the potential to earn a decent return. Many of you want your money to be protected. That makes a lot of sense in today's unsettled economy. But it's difficult these days to find a place that pays you a reasonable amount of interest. It's frustrating. That's where we come in.
Ways to protect your principal with the potential to earn a decent return are available if you know where to look. We evaluate them every day.
It's one more reason that now more than ever, you need to talk to a retirement planning specialist. Why not call the number on your screen right now? We'd love to talk to you about protecting your retirement.
Welcome back. It's time for our question of the week.
This week's question is from Lou from Kettering, Ohio. I keep watching your show and you keep talking about why it's so important to protect your retirement income. What's wrong with just using a balanced portfolio of index funds for my retirement?
Well, Lou, this dovetails into the topic of our show this week, which is being reactive versus being proactive. We've learned, hey, just put your money in a balanced portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, or 50-50 if you want to be more conservative, and just pull out a certain percentage every year. Well, it's that kind of thinking that has destroyed a lot of retirements in the last dozen years. We went through a period in 01 and 02 and again in 08 where the markets averaged a 50% decline. So if we have saved the money that we've amassed over our lifetime and we've now got our retirement savings and we're asking it to sustain us, and we go through an 01 or an 02 or an 08 and we lose 35, 40, maybe even 50% of our life savings, and we're having to live on that, mathematically, it gets very, very challenging to rebound from that. There's a big difference, and we've got a lot of charts and graphs that we can show you if you want to come in and meet with us and look at these charts and graphs, but the math really doesn't work very well. There's a big difference between rebounding from the bottom when you don't have to touch your savings and when you're pulling out 3, 4, 5%. It becomes much more challenging, and so that balanced portfolio that works so well for growing your money becomes very susceptible to the biggest risk in investment planning and retirement, and that is market risk. So we don't have 40 years to go make the money up, and we're now pulling from it. We're actually taking from the money. So there's a big difference there. And it's income planning at its most fundamental level. How do we now get our savings to sustain us now that we've retired and we don't have a paycheck coming in anymore. That's what our retirement roadmap review does. If you want to understand, hey, what are the different ways to construct a portfolio to generate income instead of taking the kind of risk that a quote balanced portfolio gives us, what are the different ways that I can do everything in my power to ensure that my money's going to last? Give the number on the screen a call, give us a call, and we will sit down and do our retirement roadmap review where you will understand for your circumstances what are the options available to you.
Do you want your question answered on Retiring Well? Send us an email to question@retiringwell.tv.
So I told you earlier that during Chalk Talk we were going to cover some real-world solutions to the problems that IRAs and 401ks create when it comes to surviving spouses. So here we go. Let's imagine, I've got a little example up here. Let's imagine that we've got about $500,000 sitting in an IRA or a 401k, and you might have more, you might have less. Don't focus on the number. Just here's money in a retirement plan. And remember, what did we say? If that money goes to your surviving spouse here, that is bad, bad, bad. We don't want to do that, right? That's just let's leave them a big tax bill. We don't want to do that. I mean, I don't know, maybe you're mad at your spouse for some reason, but if you're in normal circumstances, you don't want to do that. So what can we do? Well, here's a real simple solution. What if you did this? What if you took that IRA money or 401k money, invested in such a way that it would deliver income? Now, maybe you don't need all the income. What if you take part of that income and you take it out and you pay some tax on it today while you're married, at those lower tax brackets, and pay some tax today when you don't really need that money anyway, and the tax, it's just extra money. And I want you to take it and I want you to put it over here. And each year you're going to do that. Every year you're going to put that money in there, right? It might be 2 or 3% of your IRA balance. That might be all it is, 2 or 3%. And the idea here is to have that 2 or 3%, put it over here where it buys a pot of money of 500 grand. And what do we know about this 500 grand over here? Same amount of money, right? But what do we know? Over here it's fully taxable. Over here it is 100% tax-free. Over here, if you need long-term care, you just got 500 grand. Over here, there might be some long-term care benefits. Over here, you may have, depending on your circumstances, if you have creditor problems, maybe you're driving your car and you hit the wrong person. You kill a surgeon or something. Their estate sues you. Who knows what can happen? You might have some trouble over here, but over here, fully creditor protected. What am I talking about? Nothing more than something called an ILIT. What is an ILIT? It's simple. It's very simple. Legal speak, legalese, stands for Irrevocable Life Insurance Trust. So what are we doing here? Every year, take a little bit of money out of your IRA or 401k. Use it to buy life insurance inside of a trust. That's it, life insurance inside of a trust. Make your spouse the beneficiary, suddenly all your tax problems go away. What, you don't like life insurance? I'll tell you what my dad told me when it came to eating my peas. Too bad, son, get over it.
Let's talk about a customized retirement plan. Retiring today is not what it used to be. What works for your neighbor may not be best for you. Yet everywhere you turn, it seems like financial firms are giving cookie-cutter advice.
Your circumstances are different than anyone else's. As a chartered retirement planning counselor, my retirement roadmap review is designed to uncover the must-know facts for your situation before we start implementing solutions.
It's one more reason that now, more than ever, you need to talk to a retirement planning specialist. Why not call the number on your screen right now? We'd love to talk to you about protecting your retirement.
Hey Birmingham, it's that time again. This is the story of the week. And this week, since we are talking about being reactive versus proactive, and the question of the week was, why not just put all of our money in a balanced portfolio and hope for the best and ride it out? Hey, we're in it for the long haul. You know, when you're in retirement, you're not so much in it for the long haul anymore. Now we need our money to sustain us. We're gonna take income from it in most cases. So this week's story is about John and Lori. John worked for Bell South for many, many years and then for AT&T. And he was working with a broker. I won't name the name of the broker, but really you can fill in the blanks. Any large brokerage firm, you're going to likely to get the exact same advice, which is, hey, just put your money in a balanced portfolio and hope for the best. And so John was told by his broker, look, you got $1 million and you only need $50,000 a year. That's 5% of your portfolio. We're going to be able to invest your money in the markets. We're going to put a balanced portfolio together. We're going to pick the very best mutual funds with the very best managers. They've all got great track records. They're 4- and 5-star mutual funds, and everything's going to be great. So don't you worry. You go ahead and retire early. Even though you are a few years away from being able to take Social Security, hey, John, you got $1 million. So here's what happened. 2008. What do you think happened to John and Lori's portfolio? They went from $1 million down to under $600,000. Now, remember, they need $50,000 a year from their portfolio. So before, that was 5% of the portfolio. Now we're closer to 10, 8-9% of the portfolio. And what we see is that when you're pulling that money out, now they still need the $50,000. Hey, they got bills to pay. And they're pulling this $50,000 out, even though the markets are now back to where they were. Do you think John and Lori's portfolio is back to where it was? No, it's not. So they were given horrible advice, and now John's having to go back to work. They are going to have to sell their house that was their dream home, and they had worked their whole life to be able to buy it, but unfortunately they didn't pay cash for it. So now they're going to have to sell their house. And Lori may have to end up going back to work too. And when they came to me, they said, you know, this is a disaster, and we've heard your radio show and your television show. We understand that you're a retirement planner. Can you do anything for us? And so, frankly, I had to deliver some tough medicine. You know, my job is not to tell you what you want to hear. My job is to help you think through all of the things that can affect you in retirement and put a plan together so that we have the highest degree probability possible that we're going to be able to have the retirement that we want, the lifestyle that we want. And part of doing a good job of that is to tell you the truth and maybe even deliver some tough medicine sometimes. So I had to deliver John and Lori some tough medicine, but now we've put together a plan where they're going to be able to sustain their lifestyle. We did have to make some adjustments. The trick here is not put yourself in that situation. If you've done a good enough job saving for retirement, work with a retirement planner and put a plan together so that you're not exposing yourself to that kind of risk. We don't have another lifetime to make it back up if we make a mistake. If you want that kind of planning for you, if you want to know what are all the things going on in your life that could affect you and how do you make sure you've got the right plan, give the number on the screen a call. I'll sit down and do my retirement roadmap review and help you put the right plan together for yourself.
Week after week, we get these great stories about why it's so important to talk to a qualified, a true expert, a retirement planning specialist when it comes to your retirement planning. Again, I encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity. Call the number on the screen, talk to your retirement planning specialist. I know that you'd be glad you did. All right, it's time for another IRA blow-up. This week's IRA blow-up comes to us courtesy of private letter ruling. This is so much fun, IRS talk. Let's see if I can get this right. It is a 2012400031. So there you go, PLR 2012400031. If you hurry up and Google it, you can actually read it online while I'm talking. Anyway, here is our story. We have a married couple, and several years ago they bought one of these multi-tenant apartment buildings, and they pretty much financed the whole thing. Well, it was time, the markets crashed in the real estate markets, and all kinds of values went down, and they kind of hit a point where they had to sell. So what they did is they said, let's go ahead, we're going to sell our real estate. Well, they found a buyer, and it was a short sale, of course. And the way the finances kind of worked out, they had to pay off the mortgage before the new guy could buy it. And, well, they didn't have the money to pay off the mortgage. But they had the money in their IRAs. And so what did they do? They said, I know. They said, we're really smart about this. We're going to cash out our IRAs. We're going to use that money to pay off the mortgage. And then when the apartments are sold, we're going to take that money within 60 days, put it back into a new IRA. It's like an IRA rollover. And so we'll be in great shape. Everything will be honky-dory. Life is going to be swell. Well, unfortunately, they took the money out of the IRAs, they paid off the mortgage, but then, as happens so often, the apartment building didn't close on time. And so by the time they sold the apartment, by the time they get the funds for selling the apartment to put back in the IRA, it was past the 60 days. Now, they don't talk about how much money these folks were dealing with in this particular story, but it had to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Had to be. They had to cash in 4 different IRAs to do this. So here we go. I mean, imagine hundreds of thousands of dollars that they had to cash in, that they didn't plan on cashing in, right? They got the money back, but not in time. Those IRAs are gone, destroyed, history. Can't get them back. And what does it also mean? They owe tax on every dollar that came out. And oh yeah, they're under the age of 59 and a half, so they also owe what? A 10% penalty on top of it. You're talking like 30, 40% tax here, all because the stupid building didn't close on time. Not a great story at all. Now, why do we know about it, PLR? That means that they asked the IRS for relief. They said, IRS, can you please cut us a break? You know what IRS said? No, denied, stamp. So there you go, another IRA blow-up that could have been avoided. And folks, that's our show for the week. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't leave your spouse a huge tax bill. Have a great week.